Well, for the next 20 minutes, we're going to have a very brave person, Shepard Ambellas, joining us from Arizona. The story is military industrial complex prepares mass graves for U.S. citizens. We're getting all these emails pouring in from around the country saying, hey, they've got these in my town, Abilene and other areas. And it goes with all the plastic FEMA coffins, other reports that have been in the news, where they're in Indiana, Illinois. FEMA says we need to prepare for mass graves. Is it for bird flu? Are they getting ready for World War III? This is being set up at a military cemetery in Phoenix. Let's go ahead and bring the man up. He's been out there taking photos and interviewing people. We've been putting calls in all day to the head of the cemetery. He hasn't called us back yet, but let's go ahead and go to Shepard Ambellas. Shepard, thanks for coming on with us.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate it. How's it going?
Good. Tell us how you first discovered this, what's going on there. We have the photos. We have the satellite photos. I mean, you caught them doing this deep into their operation. There's a bunch of other areas where they've buried these crypts.
Yes, absolutely. Well, my friend alerted me to this originally, and, he said, what do you make of this? And I told him right away, because, I'm familiar with the FEMA coffins, and also some concrete caskets in a cemetery in L.A., and basically we went over and investigated it, took some pictures. One of my friends ended up interviewing a truck driver that was part of the operation, and basically gathered from the truck driver after about 10 minutes of the truck driver kind of beating around the bush. He basically said, look, these are for U.S. military, and four caskets fit in each one of these burial vaults. And basically went on to say, he got paid an awful lot of money to do his job, and sounds like a little bit of a bribe to me or something.
And I just want to explain to people, then we're going to pick your brain on this. Explain to folks that this is the way regular military cemeteries work. It's one coffin, one crypt, and then there's space around the graves. They're going in, digging in 10 feet, as you said. We have the photos of this, putting in all of these crypts right up against each other. So I guess this wouldn't be properly marked graves. This is not the way it's ever been done. And they're doing it at night, which is very, very secretive. And then it dovetails in with the FEMA plastic coffins all over the country, Georgia and other areas, confirmed from the company that sold it to FEMA. Centers for Disease Control massing these. I mean, this is like 28 days later or something. This is very frightening.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, I kind of got this to you guys a little bit late. I've been working on this, but absolutely, they've been working on it over the last 30-plus days. It's a large-scale operation. I mean, semi-trucks literally every morning, they start during, it's still dark, they start real early. Then they start lining up, literally bringing these things in and just unloading them all day long, stacking them in tightly together. The interesting observation I made was they actually went ahead and laid down what's called ABC or some kind of rock that's, probably 1 to 2 inches in diameter on the whole base of this thing. And now I've done a little bit of research about mass graves in Germany and whatnot, and I thought this could be, aid with the decomposition process, but basically is what I'm thinking is it's some kind of drainage system or bedding that was installed.
Yeah, stay there. And I wasn't criticizing you for getting into the project late. I meant you discovered it late in the project, so they're burying them empty and putting a layer over it. You can see that from the aerial photographs. It's just huge complex and just unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. We'll continue with our eyewitness citizen reporter in 70 seconds when we start hour number 4. Jason Douglas just got news. He just talked to Ellis, the director of the Phoenix Department of Veterans Affairs National Memorial Cemetery in Phoenix, Arizona, 225-acre facility. Now, we know how they dig the graves. They're single-person crypts. They put the coffins in. There's space. You've seen Arlington Cemetery. You've seen it all. These are being buried They never do that. Beforehand, covered up, and they're then setting them right next to each other. And these are crypts that can hold 4 coffins, or if you don't put people in coffins, it can hold even more than that. And our guest has done the math on this, Shepard, Ambellas. And Shepard, we're going to go to you in just a moment, but I wanted to go to Jason Douglas, who does graphics, video editing, and producing for the Jason Burma Show and this show, along with Rob Dew, doing a great job. You finally got a hold of the director of the National Memorial Cemetery there in Phoenix. What did he tell you?
Well, he basically just said that this is completely commonplace, that they dig these graves ahead of time. They only get 2 days' notice once they know who's going to be interred. But I asked him if he could comment on who was actually going to be put into those graves, or if he knew anything about the content of the graves. He wouldn't make a comment on that. He seemed like he had this pretty well-prepared speech. He didn't...
Yeah, it's just normal to have 4,000 graves, just what we can count on the surface. That's supposedly normal.
Right, supposedly normal. He said everything was above board.
I mean, supposedly only 4,500 troops have died in Iraq. So, I mean, suddenly they just need all these graves.
Yeah.
And just one cemetery, and we're getting reports they're building these at military cemeteries everywhere.
Right. Yeah, we've also had reports in Abilene, Texas. We're asking people to write in online. I've posted some videos and shown the pictures online. People are making comments, so hopefully we'll get some more reports of other mass graves.
Yeah, because if we find more and confirm it, and it goes into the tens of thousands. Going back to Shepard. Shepard, you did some math here, and you talked to some of the construction workers there, some of the excavators, about how many people can fit in just the graves that you saw, just the crypts that you saw.
Absolutely. Well, like you said, we know that according to what the official reports are, which are obviously a little bit skewed, but they're reporting, like 4,500 troops have died in Iraq and whatnot. It's highly suspect that you got graves enough here for 4,000 people just in Arizona. If caskets weren't used in these graves, you could probably fit 30 to 40 bodies in each one. So if you run the math times that by at least 1,000 that I know are there, you have anywhere from 4,000 bodies to possibly 40,000 bodies just in this one location.
And then what are the millions of FEMA coffins all over the country? A couple 100,000 just in Georgia alone at one side. And then we go up, there's the name of the company, you call them, it is a plastic casket, and they're just staging them for the CDC. That's obviously for mass plague. And then we've had government officials on, inside source reveals FEMA and DHS preparing for mass graves and martial law near Chicago. Daily Newscaster, that was a month ago.
Yes, absolutely. And let me tell you also, Alex, there's a video that surfaced from another plastics company. I can't think of the name of it offhand, but you could probably find it on YouTube. It happened to be in Canada, just north of the Washington border.
Yeah, I've seen all those videos, and when I need Kurt Nimmo doing a fabulous job to do, put it all together. Grab the Daily Newscaster article, which he's already done. Grab the plastic FEMA. Somebody's got to dig up. It's 6-7 years ago, so it's hard to find. Headline, Rocky Mountain News, governor discusses or governor says mass incinerators and graves ready for 15,000 a day, I think is the headline. I mean, I read that on air. We need to find that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and, like I said, this is just kind of suspect. I have a feeling it's going on all around the country, and, this is where we need to call for the listeners to really do some investigative research and let's see where these things are turning up all across.
Because if there is a big terror attack or something, a bird flu or a nuke, how come they were getting all these graves ready?
Yes, and another point I have is actually if we could track down the locations of these, if they're all over, then we kind of know that they're setting up for something. If they're just in certain locations, what's that mean as well? Stay there. More key questions and answers on the other side. Then Webster Tarpley. Stay with us. Shepard Ambellas is our guest. He took the photos and wrote the story that we broke at INFOWARS.com. We appreciate him giving us that information. Send any other photos of mass graves, plastic coffin liners being masked, mainstream news articles where they said they're getting ready for all of this. It just goes on and on and on. Continuing, Shepard, with other points that need to be made here. Well, another thing that's noted is, just the sheer size of the operation, there's several of these sections that were visible to me over the last 30 days. That I know they've already covered up multiple sections, and they've already put the earth over it, and it looks just like nothing's there. There was about 3 of these sections exposed. You know, I would estimate that the sections are like something around like 800 or 1,000 feet by 1,000 feet, just packed in there. The way they were excavated is just perfect cut down a straight wall. I mean, everything's just to a T. It's obviously...
Now, that's not how they build National Cemetery graves. They're single coffins or crypts, and they have space in between the little white crosses. I mean, this is just unbelievable. And going back to Jason Douglas, Jason, again, you talked to the director of it. You said it sounded like it was all prepared.